Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order for January 21st, 2020 at 7 o'clock. Quick roll call. We know Andy Gale's not here. We know Cliff Crowler's not here. Nick Stacy.
Present.
Brendan Allen. Richard Sullivan here. All right, so we're just gonna be going over the food sovereignty ordinance. First, I guess we gotta finish the minutes. I don't know if you guys finished them.
Also.
All right, so I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as they are. Second, all those in favor? All right, it's accepted. Okay, now, have you gentlemen had a chance to read what Tiffany drew up there? We've been passing it around for a while. It's been out there. I don't know if we had a chance to go over it. You want to take a minute and just scan over it real quick?
Yeah, I glanced at it as I work, so I can get my full
Right. so what I'm seeing here is it doesn't really spell out much. It's more of a mission statement, right? It's kind of, I mean, it doesn't talk about anything specific, but it is, the wording at the top of the page is exactly what we would put out to the town, and then once that's done, maybe craft something a little more thorough.
This is actually, I looked into other towns that passed this. This is a template from the MMA.
Right.
So a lot of towns have used this exact one.
Just as is, and haven't added to it?
Other than the town's name.
Right.
But yeah,
Okay, that's simple.
I mean, some towns have done them a little differently, like Auburn.
Right.
Was there a record of what was different or what they had?
Well, I have a copy here. It's a lot shorter. It's one page.
Do you mind, can I take
And
one?
it literally just cites, here's a couple copies. It cites the state title.
I was involved in
Gotcha.
something in New
So it's
Hampshire,
pretty
so
simply
that was a little bit different, but
That's what Auburn did. They did like a one page. They have them all. Just get Clifford that that's fine.
So it's basically just the intent and purpose and then just the definitions.
Yeah.
Well, I like that because it leaves it pretty open. I mean, you know.
I mean, this feels like it's still pretty open, but it's just, you know.
Yeah, no,
just
that's
more
what I mean.
wording.
It doesn't, you know, it doesn't spell anything out in specificity, so it kind of leaves it open. It's a matter of.
Local food.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is.
I just don't see any, you know, as far as quantities or anything like that, you know, and I'm fine with not addressing anything like that.
Well, that was my, I mean, there's gotta be a level, right, where now you become a commercial, like,
Well,
farmer.
where it cites a specific like title or chapter, it is defined in that.
Yeah.
Like that Auburn
That's
one is
in
kind of
the
saying
authority.
we're going by the state law. It does define something regarding commercial.
Right. So if there's not really much to do to change it, I mean, I can just.
I mean, I just, like, I guess I still don't, like, I know, I understand why we're doing, like, what's the downside?
Yeah,
You know, like,
there
is
can't
anyone-
be one, right? Not that I know of. I couldn't come up with
There's
something.
always, some.
Well, there's always holes in everything.
Downside, it depends on who you are. If you're from Monsanto or Big Agri, there's a downside.
Right. The upside is that this protects local control. of
True. I would like to think it would incentivize
Yeah.
it too.
Right. To incentivize it. So we're trying to codify what's sort of taken for granted in a lot of the rural states.
Right. And there is a need because I saw in New Hampshire what happened is it wasn't very clear and there were some fines given to people who thought that they were secure in doing this, but some entity in the state government thought they weren't, so there was a bit of confusion for a couple of years. So it's nice to have it laid out. But as far as any changes,
I just don't have any, like, I don't have anything to add. I
No.
think, I guess I do prefer this version over this. I think this just has a little bit, you know, more of the definitions, the authorities, it's a little bit more, I don't wanna say defined. Oh yeah, it is, it's more defined than this is,
And
but
if
it leaves it as open.
If it is exactly what Porter and other, I mean, why not?
This is the template.
Yeah, sure.
And I think, you know, when it comes to, you know, basically, a public hearing and a vote, comes to that, which you probably will.
Right, and
You
that's
can
where.
just get up and say, this is a template that lists the towns, local towns, and all of everybody's you can. Trying to codify.
I would like to, yeah, at the public hearing, that's what I'd be interested in.
This is what your warrant article would look like. And I put it as Article 2 because we have marijuana.
Okay.
So we combine them.
Can we get that over here?
Yes.
No,
Oh, no, that was Article 1, so you have Article 2.
Yeah. And if we have a special meeting, we should deal with both.
Yeah.
Get them out of the way. Because actually, the food ordinance should have been passed in our fall county meeting.
We have a vote in March, correct? There is a vote, I know there's the vaccine repeal vote in March, I don't know if there's some other stuff too, so maybe we can get this out in March.
Presidential primaries, but you can't do it.
No?
Basically, you're gonna give this to the select board after you have your public hearings, and then they'll set up the special town vote.
Okay, alright. Glad you know what's going on.
I just was thinking the goal could be like having marijuana and food sovereignty ordinance, like, all in one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Close in food, you know.
Medicine and food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I see it as a good thing, I don't have anything.
So I could just, I guess I would say I would make a motion to accept the draft as is. You know, it says right here that the selectmen recommended yes. I think that was the selectmen in their former iteration, but I think the yes would probably roll over to this group too.
You know, I find this a little bit overdone. but
Yeah, right.
Some things need to be overdone rather than underdone.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, if you say, I mean, you know, as long as it's not restricted, I think there's, you know, I'll stop short of calling it a word salad, but it, you know, it
That's
doesn't.
not the word salad.
I can only say that it's been doing this for 200 years.
Yeah,
I don't know
indeed.
exactly what.
We're trying
Somehow
to
it's somehow
codify, protect us against large, big ag, night,
Yeah.
say, no.
Times changing.
Can't sell that milk to David, sorry.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, do we need to vote on?
Well, yeah, we don't actually vote on it.
We're just,
but
we just need to set
I
up.
mean, I would accept the draft.
Yeah, accept the
Yeah, we're
draft.
not gonna make any modifications, so I'll make a motion to accept the draft as
A
is.
second.
All those in favor? Alright, it's accepted.
So we should get a public hearing then together for this?
Yeah, there's no way we could schedule it with the next public hearing that's
You need
scheduled, huh?
2 ads. in the paper.
Yeah, would've been great to schedule them together also.
So,
But we could have it
Public
before,
hearing night, monthly, we should start rolling, we should just schedule a rolling public hearing every month.
so we could schedule a public hearing before the next meeting.
Yeah, so the week of
And,
the 10th
there might
is,
be some site plan reviews coming in by then, a couple of them.
Got some applications.
Yeah. If they get it in on time.
I mean, we have, right now, we have, the 11th
As a,
as a snow date,
yeah, so I mean,
but we would have enough time to get
Oh,
an
yeah.
official public hearing
let's see,
for the food ordinance if we wanted to.
let me just double check that. No, you wouldn't.
No?
So you
That's
could
not
do
enough.
it after the 12th.
Why would we just not do it right before the next meeting then, on the 7th or the
On the
18th?
18th,
Yeah,
you could.
I mean,
You
we
wanna
could
it
do that.
6 p.m.
sure, we've done that before, had the
Or is
public
that
hearing
too
before the
early?
meeting.
I
No.
think,
Or
I don't
6:30.
think, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I don't see this becoming a huge heated.
Right, no.
I mean, maybe I could be completely wrong.
No, I don't think so.
But I would say that, you know, I would be open to that, I just may be a little, I just might be a little late because I commuted,
Sure,
but,
sure.
you know.
What do you think, 6:30?
6 or 6:30 on the 18th would work.
We could say 6:30, that'll give you
Is
a
that
little
give
bit
us
extra time.
half hour?
I mean, we can even roll over a little bit longer, I don't know what we have for the meeting, nothing yet, right?
Nothing yet,
Right.
but.
And if it were, if something did come in, it would be just a review of the application as complete, so it probably wouldn't take too long. So I think we could do that, 6:30 for the public hearing. If it rolls over into the, past 7 o'clock for the meeting, we'll just deal with it.
February 18th.
Yes.
Also, you guys wanna do like a canceled date?
Sure,
You never
sure.
know. It's up to you.
No, we should do that.
Do the following Tuesday, or you can't do March 3rd, it's a primary election that night.
The following Tuesday, I guess if everybody.
Which
25th?
puts us, yeah, that's the 25th, right?
Yeah, 25th,
At
same time.
6:30?
Sure, 6:30.
Just make it easy.
What was the date on that?
The 18th?
Tuesday.
And after the public hearing, it goes to the selectmen, is that what you said?
Well,
vote? What's the?
So after the public hearing, we would then take that input back. There could be potentially changes, updates, retractions, all that stuff, so we'll still need to work it. After the public hearing though, and we sit with it, we'll make our final vote as to, you know, yes, no, this, add, whatever, and then that'll go to the selectmen who will then set up a special meeting.
Okay.
if that's,
What other business do we have?
I just have,
Well, we have,
this
oh,
stuff,
the public hearing.
so, I think Harvey came up with this, it's, some FOIA requirement. So you guys will just have to read through this and sign off and read through it.
Okay,
No immediate rush, I mean, bring it back at the next meeting or something if you want.
that's education material?
Yeah, it's a training requirement, I wasn't aware of it, but, David said he does need some documentation that you at least reviewed material on it.
Okay.
And it's just about public records. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Hmm. I don't know, are there any other questions, anything about recreational marijuana, food sovereignty?
Recreation marijuana, we're just waiting for the
Public hearing, yeah,
The fourth, is it?
Yeah, fourth, right?
Yeah.
yeah, so we're just, going with the.
You got a copy of that draft of it?
Yes.
The two of them, I don't know.
I
Yeah,
did all
they're
of
cheating,
this, so
Yeah, it might be on the table.
It's,
definitely.
Oh, right here,
um,
February 4th. Yes. And 7 p.m.
And once you guys go to the selectmen, then we'll probably put the two together,
Yeah.
and
That
the
would be,
sovereignty and, yeah.
yeah. I don't know if there's anything else that can be tied to that. Seems, premature to call a meeting. Do you have any questions from either of you? Just came to watch?
I'd just like to make a comment, the wall looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you weren't being sarcastic this time either. I noticed it.
I came, I don't know why I came, it was about a comment Mr. Gale made about voting on the board attendance at your last meeting. So if you're not gonna do that, good, because he's only missed 3 regular meetings. I did get a copy of your bylaws, and I haven't seen if it's written in there as to how to deal with that, so.
No.
That would be why I
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna address that tonight. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to, I think at this point, yeah, we're good, right?
Lindsay got anything else for us, right? You said that there's, you got applications out though?
Well, yeah, 2 people submitted applications, but they, haven't paid for the escrow yet, so I'm waiting for them to do that. One guy just had to clarify some stuff on his application, there's confusion between him and Jesse. It's for a conditional use permit in the shoreline zone, so I'm waiting for him to clarify some stuff and then he'll get that back out to me. So that would be potentially 2 applications next month for site plan reviews.
That's it?
The only thing I was gonna bring up was, and it's more or less I guess in addition, this is something that has been on my, since I moved back here, is allowing or adding a clarifying definition between, what a tavern and a bar is versus like a tasting room.
Right.
Because,
Yeah, you had mentioned that.
yeah, and the reason is because there's no definition. Say, we had someone here making wine or making cider, or I'll leave beer out of it because beer is like manufacturing, so you have to have a special zoning permit for that, or special zone for that anyway. But cidering, wine, all of that, either fruit wine, whatever, that's all an agricultural product. However, from what I understand in our ordinance, a person wouldn't be able to, say, sell tastings at that location if it was in a, say, rural residential or a rural area.
Right.
Because it, per our ordinances, would be almost defined as a tavern, which is not permittable. Now, I see tavern and tasting room as 2 very different things. One is selling an agricultural product that's made there, whereas a tavern you're bringing in product and, purposefully kind of get.
You know, I see it possibly as quantity. I mean, if you're bringing people in, hundreds to the tasting room, that
Right, but say you had, taverns are also open late, right? Tasting rooms generally close at late, latest I've seen 8, 9 maybe. In Portland, that's a whole different thing, but like in the more rural areas, they are closing early, and it's usually, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, usually not Sundays, not throughout the week, because they're manufacturing or doing stuff at those. So, I don't know, just something that I think that, from the last meeting, we talked about adding some clarifying definitions for like either redemptionist or recycling. That got me thinking again about, separating the definition of tavern into a tasting room, which could be tied to, again, it has to be a product that is made there on premise, So that's the biggest definition change that I think. And I've scoured through, and I couldn't find anything that was like tasting room.
Well,
where you
where
could
is the
actually charge.
tavern?
Tavern is in the usage chart. So if you just go to,
Assuming we have one that's organized properly.
right, taverns on page 17. So village, site plan review, and then basically not permissible anywhere else.
Mm.
We have a definition of tavern?
That's a good question.
That was more of a-
Yeah,
what's the
so
definition? I mean, if we're not
So I-
changing the definition.
I think we need to add
It'd be more like
an amendment to what a tasting room is.
change of the definition or amendment to the ordinance, because we can do a change in we can,
Easier.
yeah,
Define
we can
tasting
change definitions. We
Right.
can, make definitions, but changing, if it's something that doesn't exist, I don't know.
Yeah, so anyways,
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
that's just something that I think, being traditionally an agricultural town.
Just curious if tavern is defined,
Right, yeah.
because that would be the place to start.
I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere, so I'll get that information for the next meeting and kind of go down that, but.
I also have a question, this is a little bit different subject.
Sure.
Did we formally, we're gonna formally insert that, minor subdivisions are 4 houses or less? I mean.
No, that's in there. We don't have to insert, that's defined in there, The only thing that was proposed was discussing, something about density for major subdivisions, and, that was, if somebody wants to craft something, we can discuss it, Andy was a little.
And have we dealt with, of course it's density, but have we dealt with, village rural as being in a minor, being considered a minor
Not sure.
subdivision area? Okay,
Not sure.
village, well, is
We have rural residential.
rural residential.
Right.
Have we decided that rural residential, there's a cutoff point where there's residential in a village area, right? And then there's rural residential, which gets further out from the village. Have we decided that rural residential is dependent upon only minor subdivisions as opposed to major?
I don't know,
I don't know how we can do that, what if there's 1,000 acres somewhere, I understand what the frustration is here.
If we don't close loopholes,
Okay, so
have to deal with.
what I can say is the only idea I can come up with this, and I know exactly what's bothering you, so I can say this. The only way I can come up with an idea here, and if somebody's got a better one, is if you want to reduce the amount of development in a major subdivision, maybe you increase the lot size of rural residential for major subdivision, but you can't really do that for one, like say one guy wants to come out and buy a lot, why are you gonna increase his lot size? So maybe you could apply that to a major subdivision of more than 4 houses,
Well, I think.
possibly. But we have to get people to vote on that too, right? We have to get that passed.
Here's something else that I think we should take into consideration. How close is the rural residential to conserved or resource development areas? If
Right.
it's sitting right in the midst of it, that's where we have to make that definition line.
So are you looking for some way to insert it into the comprehensive plan somehow?
Yeah, it's gonna be in that plan, but because we have to take into consideration what it's surrounded by, what it's near. If it's near a conserved or a natural resource area,
Right.
I think we have to stick to the,
But how close is too close?
Yeah.
how close is too close? Across the street. Bordering. I mean, if
So
it's just farm and forest, that isn't. If it's farm and forest, that is not conservation or natural resource area. If it's farm and forest, then, you know, we can look for other means to reduce, but we
Andy,
might not. However, if it's conservation resource area that it butts up against you, that's the point where we have to say,
Well, do we just, do
only
we have to
minor
enact,
subdivisions.
do we have to, is it then, do we need to get a whole new zone, you know what I mean? Cause, you know, we have a farm and forest
Like a buffer
zone.
is what
we-
Yeah, but we have
It
a
sounds
farm-
like there needs to be
Yeah,
a
we have a farm
conservation
and forest
zone.
zone, but we also have a conservation resource
We're,
area.
we're
We
just
have-
looking at it like a buffer zone, it's kind of like a buffer zone up against the conservation.
Well, yeah, but it has to be considerable, not like an acre, you know what I mean?
See, to me, an acre sounds considerable.
Andy made a good point at the last meeting where you could have, you know, you could reduce it to minor subdivisions, but you could put 2 minor subdivisions back to back.
Right.
You got 8 lots.
That's why I say, from what I understand, the concern is, the only way I can see to address it is to increase the lot size for major subdivisions and rural residential. Increase from 2 acres to 3, or whatever the case may be.
But I think it's possible with conservation resource areas and protected areas, and we do have the Levitt Plantation, which is everywhere, you know. Anytime we have somebody that's going to talk about a major subdivision right next to that, I think we have to consider the fact that we don't want to put such high valued land with resources that are maybe endangered, put a large subdivision next to that.
I could agree with that, but as far as how to go about it, I mean, I'd like.
One route is increasing lot size. One route is leaving a huge buffer if they want to put how they have to have, you know, 5 acre or 10 acre buffer to the next, you know.
But that would be increasing your lot size then, right? Cause if you have a 2 acre lot, there's no way you're gonna have a 5 acre buffer necessarily. You can't-
Exactly right.
you
If you
can't-
have a 2 acre lot, you're not going to have four homes in there. You know, it's not likely.
So I think this would
But we
definitely,
have to definitely.
it would require further discussion for sure. Probably, something where we would plan to discuss it. I'm sure, and I'd love to hear Andy's opinion on some of this too.
I agree.
So I think we should discuss it in the future. I don't know when or where, but
Well,
I'm
the future
certain.
may be dumped in our pockets faster than you know what I'm saying? The reason why I say that is Levitt Plantation's huge. And, you know, it could happen in a few weeks, it could happen in a month. We really should pin down some stuff. I don't know, maybe we could consult with the town's lawyer. What are our options? We're concerned about protecting natural resource areas. And we know of
And this is me being dumb, okay, so,
maybe what?
I said this is me being dumb, cause I haven't sat and looked through all this, but like, so Level Plantation, right, just like, it's
It's everywhere, that's why we have to deal with
right,
it.
but you're saying it's a, public, or not public,
It's
conservation,
It's a
right? It's under
conservation.
conservation.
Yeah,
So being under conservation through the state, are there not already guidelines, what can and cannot be around all that? And so what, so why is it that?
several of them, but,
Okay, so,
I think the state is also depending on the town to support that protection as opposed to, you know, feeding it to its detriment by putting major subdivisions right next to them.
but if that was the state's concern, like don't put major subdivisions next to it,
Well, if we were
would that
to-
be in the state's?
If we were to, yes,
docket?
if we were to contact the
So
state.
to me, it seems like the state is actually saying, hey, you know what, we don't wanna be too restrictive, so it's our prerogative, we wanna make it more restrictive, sure.
Correct, correct.
But at the same time, like, I'm gonna just say that, we've been going by the state for this long, and if it's already got all these strict.
But yeah, look what happened with the Watson Woods. A lot of people were up in arms because it was right sitting in the middle of Watson Woods. And of course, there were a lot of laws that were broken in that
I'm not
development.
I'm not discussing any of that.
Yeah, I understand.
Well,
But I'm just saying, I'm looking to the future.
Right.
And if we have something like this come again,
Yep, so we should discuss it in the future. We probably should get some input on it too. I share some of your concerns, certainly.
My concern is that though, it's the town's want,
Right.
and not a potentially smaller group.
That's
of
why maybe
people's
we should
wants.
discuss it, at some point, maybe get some input from somebody in the public. Again, this has been brought up by a few people.
Right.
I don't know where we go from here, but, just to shut it down and say, no, don't wanna hear about it anymore, I think that might be wrong, but to maybe say, okay, we're open to discussion, open to some discussion about it, you know? I mean, it's a tall order, I think, it's a tall order to
Are
get set,
invited to come to our meetings.
right,
Yeah,
right?
public attendance.
Yeah. So I think, I don't think it's gonna be put to bed tonight, no, sir?
No, definitely not, but that's been on my mind, we have to have some stuff in place,
Right.
so we don't have to deal with.
I think it would help for me though, like if it came with like numbers, like what's the buffer you're talking about? What's an exact buffer? You know, we can't talk in like, you know, hypotheticals or, you know, we need to do this much of we need to do a buffer. What's the buffer? Like come with, we need like structure of what you have in your mind is what is.
Not
gonna happen,
necessarily,
you know.
it's what's on the ground also, it's soil types, what kind of slope it is. So all these things have to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, and so that to me sounds like we're getting into basically redefining the entire subdivision ordinance. If we're talking about
I don't know
soils,
about
we're talking
the
about all of that
entire
stuff. I
one.
mean,
Well,
it's-
I think, wow, a good place to start, Cliff, and this is something, you know, you repeatedly brought up, is maybe just draft something. Draft what you're thinking, put it on paper.
That's what I'm getting.
I think that's what, yeah, I mean, you know, start with something.
Because
Somebody's gotta
yeah.
present something, you get an idea of what you would, as you look at, you had, your vision is put it on paper, because
Yeah.
this is, you know, anything like this would involve a public hearing and a vote. I mean, it's a change in the ordinance, and.
I can put it on paper, but we have to work on it as a group.
Well, yeah, but we gotta
Bring
start with
us
something, we can't bring
Yep.
that horse to life here, you gotta start
I'll
with
be
something.
happy to put something on paper.
Yeah, let's start with something.
So we'll continue this discussion at a future date.
Yep.
All right, so I think that's it for tonight. Anything else? Anything else? Lindsay? Anything else?
I'd like to invite any of you who would like to go to the comprehensive plan meeting too on February 1st, would be appreciated. I know it's tough on you guys,
When
I'll
is
be at a cheering
February
competition,
1st is a Saturday? Is that what that is?
Yeah, we have our meeting the first Saturday of.
Is that what it is? So it's scheduled pretty much first Saturday of every month.
At some point,
What time is it?
we're gonna butt heads at some point if you guys aren't part of our group from time to time.
Come on, you know, I've shown up at least 3 times.
No, you come to a few, but at some point, the rubber's gonna meet the road.
I mean,
And the comprehensive plan,
it's not gonna bias
Leads
us.
the ordinance.
It's to the town. It's not to us. So we don't have to approve this.
Yeah, say that same
The
thing.
town is
It'd just be,
And if we have
You know, and even if, and from what I understand too, like once the comprehensive plan, even once that gets passed, like these still hold true. And
yeah, but they don't hold over the comprehensive plan.
they do.
No, they don't, no, they don't, not
These will
legally.
then get addressed
The
and updated based on the
comprehensive plan is
comprehensive plan.
based, the comprehensive plan leads that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it leads, it helps us define what these should be,
Correct.
but it's not saying that it gets held over
The
this.
planning board
This gets made
procedures are
from that.
outlined.
So yes, it does lead it,
Like, that's where
but
I
it
get
That's all I'm
doesn't,
saying.
but it doesn't
how
trump
I do
it.
my job.
In
Or
court, it would
lead
not
as
trump
far,
it.
now we're playing, semantics, lead, trump.
No.
that
No.
follows the comprehensive plan instruction.
Yes, right. And so my point is, a new comprehensive plan comes out, well,
We're gonna have
then
to
we
start
start the
with-
process of going through this.
Right.
It doesn't automatically mean
Correct.
like an application comes in, and if we have a question, we don't go straight to the comprehensive plan. We still stick with this until this is updated.
Correct.
Okay,
Agree with that?
thank you.
Two have to come together somewhere.
Right,
It's really.
right.
Yeah.
But it's all about timing and then which one, when we're sitting here with applications coming at us.
And then
Which one are we
that's
going
voted on, so it's-
Yeah, exactly. It's-
So, yeah.
All right, I think that's it. I'll make a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All right, meeting